is gone and he can't do the wash. And that's exactly what you said, didn't you? There's no truth in that. My closet is full of jeans. When I got out of the Navy, my wife vowed she wouldn't pick up an iron again. And she didn't pick it up much then. I did. But in any case, well, actually, that's not true because we weren't married just yet. And so, but she did a few things for me. She'd iron a few things for me because it's really hard to iron in the barracks. But in any case, not too often. But that being said, yes, I'm in khakis today, and there's a reason for it. I got out in the sun yesterday afternoon, and both of my legs right here are cooked. And I didn't want anything rubbing them. And I thought a suit was a little extreme. So yes, here we are. All right. I told you we were going to begin a series today, and we are. We're going to talk about following Jesus. We're talking about when the disciples were called. And I'm going to ask you a few crazy questions this morning. I need a little feedback from you guys. How many of you follow a particular preacher? You really like that preacher and you follow him? Come on, give me some names. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Jeremiah. Okay. Anybody else? Robert Morris. Stephen Furtick. Come on. James Robinson. J. Vernon McGee. Francis Chan. Anybody over here follow anybody? Oh, what? We already said that one. But I'm glad you follow him too. Joyce Myers. Dr. Stanley. Robert Rager. Dr. Adrian Rogers. Robert Madu. Okay. Anybody follow by chance Joel Osteen? A couple of you. No. Y'all don't like encouragement, obviously. He's the encouragement preacher. Creflo Dollar. Well, we weren't going for that, but I'm trying to get those guys that are on television. T.D. Jakes. Anybody follow by chance Brian Houston? Hillsong. A little bit. Never heard of him. Anybody follow John Hagee? Cornerstone. A few of you. Okay, so you all follow their teachings, right? Do you like their teachings? Obviously you follow them, right? So you would be considered a follower of that pastor, right? Golly. Y'all can participate right up till we're going someplace. And it's like, nah, he's leading me down a path now. Then you would be considered a disciple of that pastor. Thank you. Yes, you would be. Nothing wrong with that. As long as you've tested the Spirit, you know the teachings are good. It's always good to find multiple people that you can follow and believe in and trust in to deliver your message. If you have your Bibles with me today, turn to John chapter 1. What version? The Holy Bible? I'm just messing with you, I'm sorry. I'm going to be in NKJV today. I'm going to be in the New King James Version. I couldn't resist. I knew somebody would ask me, and I couldn't resist saying, the Holy Bible. Somebody's going, what a sarcastic preacher. John chapter 1, we're going to be dealing verses 35 through 51. It says, again, the next day John stood with two of his disciples. Notice we said John. John had his own followers. John the Baptist. He come to proclaim and make a way for Jesus, right? And so he had his own disciples. And he's standing with two of his disciples. And looking at Jesus as he walked, he said, behold the Lamb of God. The two disciples heard him speak. And they followed Jesus. Then Jesus turned and seeing them following, said to them, what do you seek? They said to him, Rabbi, translated teacher, where are you staying? He said to them, come and see. They came and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. One of the two who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, we have found the Messiah, which is translated Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Now when Jesus looked at him, he said, you are Simon the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas, which is translated a stone or rock. The following day, Jesus wanted to go to Galilee, and he found Philip, and he said to him, follow me. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Philip said to him, come and see. Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him, and he said of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, whom there is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, how do you know me? Jesus answered and said, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael answered and said to him, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Jesus answered and said unto him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe you will see greater things than these? And he said to him, most assuredly, I say to you hereafter, you shall see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. We're going to stop there for just a minute. Now, you can go back and you can read Jesus calling his first disciples in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then I read from John. And each one has a different description, much like if you told the story of yourself coming to know Jesus, it would be different than if somebody else was telling your story. So each person has got a bit of a different account. But here's what I want you to see. First of all, John the Baptist comes what? Preaching about Jesus and repentance for the remission of sin, right? Okay, so was that different than everything these people had been taught to that day? Some of you aren't sure, so let's back up a little bit. We come out of the Old Testament, right? And the Old Testament was all about the law. And so they had grown up under the law. And that's what they knew, was to follow the law. So in order to follow John or Jesus, it took a change of what? Heart and mind. You had to completely clear your mind of everything that you had learned in order to follow them. Because they're preaching something totally different. They're preaching this insane gospel. It's cutting edge. So much so that the Pharisees said, hey, what's up with this? This is completely contrary to everything that we've been teaching. And you're expecting us just to follow this. And so what they wanted to do is they wanted to just cut Jesus off. Hey, let's cut the head of the snake off and get everything under control. Does this sound familiar? Good. That means we're all at least read that far. Think about us today. Now, we just talked about following so many different pastors in this church. And every one of those pastors come from a different background, don't they? Yeah. Every one of them comes from a different background. And you follow what you're comfortable with, right? Thank you, Craig. Hey, let me ask you something. Hey, from here over, I know I'm not in the picture. It's okay. They can hear me. Do you follow? Do you trust? And do you believe in what you're comfortable with? Amen. Is that what most of us do? Don't speak. Okay, you got it just in time because I was going to say, don't speak now. How about you guys? Do you follow what you're comfortable with? Absolutely. How about you? How about you guys? You follow what's comfortable to you, right? Absolutely. And if it's uncomfortable, what do you do? Now wait. If it's uncomfortable, what do you do? See ya? Avoid it? Change it? I like that. Change it. Validate it. Oh, you must be going to school. Fight it. Anybody else? All right. If you don't like something, what do? Get away from it. Back up. Avoid it. Okay. Now, I know you go, you just wasted a lot of time doing that. No, I didn't. Because I really wanted you to see how people think. Because I'm going to tell you right now, to follow Jesus Christ in this day and age is going to be uncomfortable to you and I. It's going to be uncomfortable because in order to follow Jesus, we're going to look different than the world looks. We are going to look completely different than the world looks. We're not going to be a carbon copy of your friend that's in the world. You should be different. And if you're different, you're going to be persecuted by the world because of whom you love and whom you trust and whom you follow. Am I not correct in that? Yes. And so you have to think about, in order to follow Christ fully and wholly with my whole heart, and to do the things that Christ has called me and the church to do, then I have to think differently than I've ever thought before, because the world we live in today is different than it ever has been before. It truly is. If you don't believe me, just look around. Now, where are you going with this, preacher? Hang on, I'm getting there. Turn with me to Luke chapter 5. Luke chapter 5, and I'm going to deal with verses 2 through 11. This is Jesus. He was beside the water. The crowds began to gather in, and he saw, beginning in verse 2, it says, and he saw 2 boats standing by the lake. But the fishermen had gone from them and were washing their nets. Bless you. It didn't say that in the Bible, but... Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and he asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the multitudes from the boat. And when he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep, let down your nets for a catch. But Simon answered and said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish which they had taken. And so also were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, Do not be afraid. From now on, I will teach you to catch men. Now, why'd you have to read all that to get to that part? You could have read it in Matthew and it would have been a lot quicker. Absolutely. But I wanted you to see something. In Matthew, it says, he called them to follow him, and immediately they left their nets and followed him. And you'd have went, oh, okay, they followed Jesus. I wanted you to understand what happened in more detail that made them follow him. They seen the miraculous. They had toiled all night their way. Oh, this is going someplace, and some of you getting nervous. You're fidgeting in your seat. They had toiled all night their way. They had done it the way they thought best. And they had come up with nothing. And Jesus didn't immediately say to them, go out there, go. He wasn't a hummingbird. He wasn't a Lawrence. He didn't just say, point, go over there and you'll catch fish, go over here and you'll catch. He didn't do that. He first told them, move out. I'm going to use your boat and I'm going to sit here and preach. And that's what he did. And then when he was done doing what he had set out to do, he told them what to do for being obedient and doing what he asked of them. They're fishermen. They could have said, hey, just push the boat out there yourself. You got it. We're over here washing our nets. But instead, they did what he asked of them. And in turn, when he was done, he said, put out your nets. But Father, we've toiled all night, but okay, if you say so, we'll do it. They drop their nets, and what happens? The miraculous. They bring in so much, they got to call others over. I'm going to tell you right now, the world is not going to change today because you say, Jesus loves you. Honestly. I mean, the church, this is fixing to get deep. We are so pathetically lost in our own minds and hearts and our own ways that we walk around going, Jesus loves you. I don't understand why they won't get saved. And most of us walk around sour, look like we sucked a lemon before breakfast this morning. We come into church. Got a full slate, full schedule, full everything. Are you a Christian? Yes, I'm a Christian. Do you love Jesus? Yes. Do you want what they got? No. Here, okay, I can tell already. I'm going to have to do this a different way. If they open a new restaurant in town and your friends get in the door before you do, and you ask them, is the food good? And they go, I wouldn't eat there again if they paid me. How many of you going to go get in line? No. So if you see Christians acting other than Christ-like and in love and in joy and in peace and the things that God has promised them, why would you want what they got? Yeah, I'm going to go sit an hour every Sunday morning and interrupt my sleep to have exactly what you've got. Think about it, folks. We should be the happiest, most joyful, most loving, most kind, most peaceful people in the world because we already know how everything turns out. If you don't believe me, turn over to the back of the book. We win. But he had to do something dramatic. So guess what? In this day and age, it's going to take something dramatic to turn the hearts and lives of men around. You're not going to get by with the old hand them a track and good luck. It's not going to work anymore. Because they'll just hand you that track back and save you some time. They're going to have to see it in you. They're going to have to see it around them. They're going to have to see some of those signs and wonders and some of the miracles of Jesus happening in order to change their lives, their minds, and their thoughts. And to say, whoa, I want to follow him. That's what it's going to take. But for these guys, this was a literal call into the ministry. I'll make you fishers of men. From now on, you'll catch men. If you look over in Luke chapter 6, I'm going to be dealing with verses 12 through 16 in Luke chapter 6. It says, now it came to pass in those days that he went out to the mountain to pray, and he continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called his disciples. Now, how many of you believe he had more than 12 disciples? Good. That means y'all read ahead. That is exactly right. Jesus grew in followers by the number. Especially in Galilee. They really liked him there. In his hometown, they wanted to thrash him. But in Galilee, they loved him and he grew in number. However, when it was this time, and we'll keep going, so when it was day, he called his disciples. He called his disciples to himself. And from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles. Now, wouldn't that be ironic? He had 12 disciples and he called them all in and said, now you're apostles. No, he chose 12 from all the disciples. And why is that? Because apostle is to be a messenger sent. You're sent to deliver a message. You're sent to deliver. You're on a mission for Christ. That doesn't mean we're all not here to spread the gospel. Just some are sent on a mission. We like to call it nowadays being called. Some are called to be a minister of the gospel. Some are called to be teachers. Some are called to be administrators. Everybody's called to something. And that brings you into an apostleship. And this is where these men came into that. He named them apostles, and they were Simon, whom is also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon called the Zealot, Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. Now, I want you to think of something. All of us often think when we hear these guys, we think of them as special people. Before they were called, there was nothing special about them. 4 of them, we know right at the beginning, were what? Fishermen. They provided the food of the day. If you're a rancher today, a commercial fisherman, run a commercial operation, ranching, or you may run a commercial poultry operation, or you're a farmer, you're not so different than these gentlemen. Just a common salt of the earth person. And Jesus said, those are my people. And then he found him a tax collector who was hated by everybody. And still today, when we think of the IRS, we all go, boo. Yeah. Bunch of thieves. Sorry if you work for the IRS. That's the truth. I mean, nobody does a little hop off to the post office to mail their taxes, now do they? Some of you go, you're old school. We put ours in electronically. Good for you. However, that's who he called. A bunch of workers, a bunch of blue-collar guys. And he said, you're the guys to deliver the message. He even, get this, Simon the Zealot. A zealot was they were a hot-headed band of rebels. Today we'd call them a gang. Back then they called them rebels. He even had him a gangbanger in the disciples. Come on, that's the truth. It's the truth. For all of you who like to be kind of snotty as Christians, the first one had gangbangers in it. So, look at your company. However, these men were called to deliver the message. They were called to go, to do the mission. And if you look just a little further over in Luke to chapter 9. Chapter 9, I'm going to do verses 1 and 2 when I get there. It says, then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He sent them out. He says, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to move along. It's time for spread your wings and spread the gospel. Now, I want you to think about it. If you were sitting under Jesus' ministry, he'd go, hey, you've been here for years. It's time to go spread the gospel. Let's go. And you'd go, but I'm not ready. And he'd go, you ain't ever going to get ready till you fly. Anybody here ever jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I got 1, 2. All right. I'm going to tell you, standing there on the edge, it's a little daunting, isn't it? You're not really excited about doing this at that moment. And at some point, you have to work up the courage to go, it's now or never, let's go. Now, I know I got two over here. How was it for you standing on the edge of that airplane? It was a little different, wasn't it? To look out and see the ground below you and know between this aircraft and that ground, I'm depending on a parachute packed by men. They might let you pack it yourself, but most of the time it's packed by a professional. That's a little daunting. At least it would be for me. How about you? I'm not even real big on bungee jumping. And I got something tied to me. And you're hoping that thing is going to recoil you back. Yeah. Yeah. I'm relying on the STAR test math. And so anyway, all that being said, I want you to understand this. When they went out, they weren't ready. In their mind and their hearts, they weren't ready. But they were never going to get ready until they went out there and experienced it. You can practice all you want, but until you've actually entered the game, you'll never know what it's like. And they had to learn. And that was their mission. And they were sent out 2 by 2. You notice he didn't send them out by themselves. He sent them out 2 by 2. Why is that? Because when we work together, we gain strength from each other. We can support one another. Too many times we go out by ourselves and well, how many of you know a banana doesn't get skinned till it leaves the bunch? And so it's better for us to always stay at least in pairs. Man, I'm talking in a fruit thing here, aren't I? It's appealing. I like that. That's pretty good. I have to remember that one. Thank you, Todd. However, if we skip over to Mark 16, 15 through 20, and I'm going to bounce back and forth between these two, and you'll see why in just a minute. Mark chapter 16, beginning in verse 15. And he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will follow those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will take up serpents. And if they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick and they will recover. That's the Great Commission. We all adhere to the Great Commission. Now I want you to see there was not much difference when he sent them out here at the end of his time when he was about to ascend to heaven. And he told them his mission for them. I want you to look back again to Luke chapter 9 for just, or you don't have to, I'll read it to you. In Luke chapter 9, it says that he gave them power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases, and then he sent them to preach. He doesn't send you out unarmed. If you go unarmed, it's on you. It's kind of like having you don't even have to have the license anymore. It used to say a CDL. Or not a CDL. Golly. Ooh, get it right. To have your concealed carry license. And then not take your weapon with you. And then you get shot and go, oh. And everybody looks at you and goes, you got a license, where was your weapon? Well, look, when he sends you out, he didn't just send you out with a license, he sends you with a weapon. And your job is to use it and utilize it. Clock watchers, I'm closing right now. Right now. I want you to understand something about these guys. They began the ministry with him. He changed their minds and their lives from everything that they once knew. That didn't mean the law went away for them. It just meant that they had a new course of action. And he changed their lives. And every one of them died for him except for one, John. And he was persecuted dearly and eventually exiled to the Isle of Patmos. You pay a terrible price. Even when Jesus was your mentor and walked among you and led people himself, you'll still pay a terrible price to serve Jesus Christ. If you carry out the message of Jesus, you will be severely persecuted in this day and age. I'm just telling you now. So if you really want to serve him with all your heart, be prepared. I'm forewarning you now. But people aren't going to come to know Jesus. Now, we all think about when someone is laid to rest and they're laying here in their coffin. Everybody wants to hear this message from the preacher that their lives are better, and they're in a better place, and they're in heaven. They and God know. Everybody else is guessing by what they've seen or heard. But how many of you have ever seen someone that when they died, you knew there was no doubt? They had lived their life that way for years and years, and when it came to question, there was no question. I've preached several of those funerals, and those people say, it's got to be tough to do funerals. No, those funerals right there are the easiest funerals you'll ever do, because you honor the memory of someone that you know beyond a doubt. By the time they closed their eyes and took their last breath on this earth, they made heaven their home. And so I'm going to encourage you today. Make it easy on your preacher when he stands over you. Some of you go, I wouldn't do it now for nothing. Make it easy on your preacher. Don't make him have to bend the truth. Don't make him have to stretch the tale. Don't make him guess. When I pass from this life, I hope and I pray with all my heart that my legacy is not that he did this or he did that or he did this or he did that, but that he was a man of God beyond anything else. I want my wife to say, I knew every day that he loved me, but more than that, I knew he loved God. And I want my kids to say, I knew my daddy loved me, but more than that, I knew he loved Jesus. And because of him, our house will always serve the Lord. Because if I've done that, then I have honored God in everything he has called me to do. And if I can teach you that, then I will have honored him in the calling of a pastor. Bow your heads with me, church. I know it's hard to set aside everything you've been taught in your life, everything that you believe in, and I'm not telling you there's no truth in it. That would be asinine of me to even go there. But what I am telling you is, in order to follow the Lord, you have to put some preconceived ideas and thoughts away. And you have to be open to the Lord leading you. Because the Lord will change you dramatically. I know that for a fact. And many here that have followed Christ into the callings he's got for their life have found that when they follow him into those callings, he changes their lives dramatically. And so I encourage you today, if you want to follow Christ, the first thing you got to do is know him and know that he is the Lord of your life. He has given you a free gift through his Son of salvation. And I'm going to invite you today to come to know Jesus. Or maybe if you slipped away from him, to come back and renew your commitment to him. If that's you in this place today and you say, Pastor, I need to know Jesus. I need to know he's the Lord of my life, or I want to renew my commitment with him. I'm going to ask you to just slip your hand up, right back down. I just want to pray with you this morning. Thank you for that hand, young lady. Thank you for that hand, sir, ma'am. Anyone else? I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you for that hand, ma'am. Thank you for that hand, ma'am. For every one of you that raised your hand this morning, Christ seen and knows your life. He's been dealing with your heart. That's why you raised your hand. It had nothing to do with my message or the music. It has everything to do with the Holy Spirit of Christ speaking to your life. And so now I want to pray with you. It's a simple prayer, but it's a prayer of repentance. Church, I'm going to ask you, Christians, to come along and join us in this prayer and the responsibility of these moments. Those of you who raised your hand, join me in this prayer now. Dear Jesus, I believe in you. I believe in Calvary. I believe you died for my sins. And I believe you rose again that I might have eternal life. I ask you to forgive me. I ask you to wash away my sin and my unrighteousness. And I ask you to come into my life to be my Lord and Savior. And by faith, I accept my forgiveness and I accept you as my Lord and Savior. Now I'm open to you to use me as you will. In Jesus' name, amen. For every one of you who prayed that prayer, welcome to the family of God. I promise He met you right where you are. It's good to have you. If you're visitors, it's good to have you with us today. We're honored to have you. Our day would not have been the same without you, so thank you for being here. Please make sure you go by and give them your visitor's card and get your mug. And for our home folks, it's good to see you in church this morning. Good to have you with us. I'm going to ask you if you would to stand this morning as we prepare to dismiss. Please remember tomorrow night's the men's group, the men's meeting. For all of you who identify as men, that'd be perfect to come to. And have a little food and a little fellowship together, and come, please, come and be with us. And I'm going to ask you this morning, if you would, to bow your heads, please. Brother Ron Chance, would you dismiss us in prayer?